Knew he was a killer. First time that I saw him. Wonder how many girls he had on the night haunted. But the face of ghost that I can be a offender. Holding him for ransom. Some words are trying too hard. He don't try at all though. Younger than my exes, but he acting such a ransom. I see nothing better. I keep him forever. Like a vendetta. Knew he was a killer. First time that I saw him. Wonder how many girls he had on the night haunted. But the face of ghost that I can be a offender. Holding him for ransom. Some words are trying too hard. He don't try at all though. Younger than my exes, but he acting such a man. So I see nothing better. Keep him forever. Like a vendetta. I see how this is gonna go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to an uber bossing character that is not Penance Brand. Why is it not Penance Brand? Because I wanted to do something a little different. Can you really gonna fault me for that? All right, anyway, let's go into a quick overview of the build. I'll get into the nitty-gritty details here in a second. So this build revolves around the Ephemeral Edge Sword, which says you have 20% of your energy shield added as lightning damage to attacks. We're choosing to use Molten Strike here for all the projectile shotgunning shenanigans. You do this with reduced projectile speed, so we have slow projectile support. We spec into the reduced projectile node down here, less projectile speed mastery as well, which enables us to go point blank for even more damage, because if you did not know how Molten Strike works, when you hit a target, it fans out the projectiles kind of like a fountain at the top, and the distance that those projectiles travel is based on their speed. So if you have very low projectile speed, they're basically going to fall right back on the target. So you're hitting them with all the projectiles, and then we're using the Nimbus Ring on top of that for the projectiles to come back to me, which essentially just doubles their damage. Now I know what you're thinking. You have a Nimbus and you have a Mage Blood Streamer. This build's super expensive. What am I supposed to do? Don't worry, I got you covered. In the path of building, I have a budget version of this build. So the non-budget version, we're sitting at about 16 million uber boss DPS, which is quite a bit. It's about 53 million non-uber. Yo, 1.8 divs. Every single time I make a video, I make a sale. Dude, I gotta do this more often. And we're sitting at about 42k fizz max hit and about 100k non-fizz max hit, elemental max hit. But if we go to the cheap loadout here, obviously you're going to do way less damage. You're going to have less tankiness as well. But we're sitting at about 2.3 million uber boss DPS, which is respectable. This is about on a 20 to 25 divine budget. And you're sitting at about 30k fizz max hit with about 50k or 45k-ish elemental max hit. This is a cheap version, about, again, 20 to 25 divine. So you absolutely do not need to spend a butt ton of money on this build to get it functionally up and going. You're gonna just deal way less damage and be less tanky, obviously. So again, we're just using the Ephemeral Edge Sword here, which gives us 20% of our ES as added lightning damage. Also, you definitely need the Corruption for Resolute Technique. If you do not have that, you can get a poorly rolled sword, right? Well, poorly, it's not that bad. For like 1 divine, 1.5 divines at most for Resolute Technique. Definitely pick that up even on a budget. And then we're just getting as much ES as possible. We're sitting at 11.4k ES. We have 921 int. We're also scaling that because every 5 int is plus 1% ES. So we just have, you know, pretty good ES on our gloves, on our boots, about 232 on those, 481 on the chest, 223 on the shield, 355. That's a pretty good helmet, actually. And then we're also playing the Trickster Ascendancy, which says right here that every 6 evasion on our chest piece is additional +1 flat energy shield. So you see, if I take off this chest piece, I go from 11.4k to 6.9k. So our chest piece makes up for about like 40-45% of our overall energy shield. So Trickster is pretty dang busted for energy shield based classes. Other than that, that's pretty much the entire build. If you're on the budget, the only items I would absolutely recommend, like require actually, would be the Ephemeral Edge with Resolute Technique, and then the Anathema Ring. This is a very cheap ring. You do not need the Corruption Implicit. It just helps if you do get that. This ring enables you to go triple curse because it sets your curse limit equal to your power charges, which every character has a minimum of 3 power charges. So you get Conductivity, Sniper's Mark, and Elemental Weakness. This will like double your damage or triple your damage. I don't even know. Let's check real quick. If I take off my curses, all of a sudden we are dealing... we go from 16 million DPS to 4.8 million DPS. So it's pretty dang important to get your curses up and going, ladies and gentlemen. So definitely get that ring. Good thing it's a really cheap ring. I mean, in the Voice of the Storm, this is where a majority of that 20 to 25 divine budget comes into for the cheaper build, is the Voice of the Storm. It's about 10 divines right now. Definitely get this amulet because the lightning damage with non-crits is lucky. All that means is that right now I deal 7 to 82,995 lightning damage. Lucky simply rolls that value twice when determining the damage. So if the first roll is like 100 lightning damage, but the second roll is 56,000 lightning damage, it's going to choose the 56,000. It chooses the better result. That's what the lucky keyword means. So very, very, very strong. Definitely worth the money. Also, the Aziri's Reflection. This thing is very cheap. The only relevant role really is the curse effectiveness. You want that as high as possible. You're not going to beat the shield. You can craft a better one technically, but it just costs way too much money. This shield is by far the best in slot for the value. Other than that, that's the whole build. Let's get into a little bit of the details here. So for charms, we are obviously running the Primalist. We have Strength and Effective Curses, and then Suppression plus hits heavy, 10% chance to deal 50% more area damage. That basically equates to 5% more damage. 10% of the time, you're dealing 50% more. Average it out, you get 5% more damage. Pretty good for one charm slot. My That Which Was Taken Jewel, I'm running Chance to Fortify. Even for the budget build, you absolutely need Chance to Fortify somewhere. I have it on my Jewel. You could get it on your charms, I guess, but I would recommend you just buy That Which Was Taken with Fortify, and then you can either get Effective Curses or Exposure, depending on your budget. You can get both if you have the money for a triple. That top mod is useless, by the way. The 4% area of effect for power charge, that's irrelevant. So I probably could actually upgrade this if I wanted to. Then we're running Ancestral Vision, so 50% of our spell suppressant chance is calculated towards ailment avoidance as well. You're seeing that we're sitting at 100% chance to avoid because we also have to grab chance to avoid ailment implicit on the boots and the crafted chance to avoid ailments for 100% total, because we're not getting anywhere close to like 200% spell suppression. That'd be crazy overcapping there. Another thing I want to mention is that we're running Lethal Pride. This actually accounts for a lot of our Fizz mitigation. If you check the POB here, again, we're sitting at about 41k Fizz mitigation. If I take off this node right here, Strength of Blood, you see it go down to about 35k Fizz mitigation, which is quite a big difference. So that node's pretty useful, but more importantly, this Lethal Pride enables you to go double damage. So I have an Intimidate on hit. So I have right here, this one has 10% chance to Intimidate on hit, and this one has double damage. So, you know, it's just a little bit of damage as well, but it's mainly for this keystone here. It's very nice. I think I also have double damage on that one too. So if you get a Lethal Pride, just make sure it has at least Intimidate somewhere and at least one double damage, preferably two. It all depends on your budget, of course. And then for the other source of physical mitigation, it's simply Arctic Armor. We're not using Vol Arctic Armor. You want to see something cool? Hey, you want to see something cool real quick? Watch what happens if I turn on Vol Arctic Armor. You ready for this? Boom! 418k Fizz max hit, bro. That's crazy. 1 million elemental... Man, what's the tankiest build you've ever seen. Yeah, by the way, this is a public service announcement. If you see a Path of Building with Molten Shell, Immortal Call, or Vol Arctic Armor toggled on, just ignore that POB. Just close it. Just trust me. Just go to a different build. You don't want to look at that build anymore. Go find a new one. But what this means is that we can tank literally everything in the game. I mean literally everything. I can tank the Maven Brain Blast. I can tank the Maven Memory Game Blast, which actually the Brain Blast does more damage than the Memory Game, so I should have said that first. I can tank the Cyrus Meteor. I don't even need my Vol Arctic Armor. I can tank everything in the game from Uber bosses without Vol Arctic Armor. The only thing that Arctic Armor enables the tank is, again, the Maven Memory Blast, the Maven Brain Blast. Excuse me, my words are jumbling. Basically, like the scariest attacks. Like basically no one can tank. You can tank them with this build using Vol Arctic Armor, which is kind of cool because you're not going to see those attacks all the time. So basically, when you see that attack, you're going to have Vol Arctic Armor available to you to cast. So basically, if you want to just ignore the mechanic, you can. Other than that, these max hit values are plenty. You saw the footage, right? I can show you more footage too at the end of the video. I can tank like Uber Elder Fight. I don't have to stand out of the beam. I can tank the Shaper Beam. I can tank the Shaper Slam. I can tank the Elder Slam. You don't have to think about anything on this build. You can just face tank all the Ubers and you deal tons of damage. You can tank the Exarch Ball Phase, no problem. You can tank the Eater World Slam. You can tank everything. It's actually kind of crazy. Obviously, with the cheaper version of this build, if I go down, and remember this is like a 20 to 25 divine budget here. Of course, the POB will be in the link below. This is sitting at about like 8k energy shield. You still have a respectable like 30k Fizz max hit and about, you know, like 40k ish, a little more than that elemental max hit. It's still pretty respectable. It's obviously nowhere near the better one, but this gear is actually not that good. It's like 250 ES on the helmet, 386 on the chest piece, 160 on the gloves and boots. Like those are, you can get a lot more energy shield for this, and the more the merrier. But this just goes to show that this build for the budget actually is very, very good, I would say. You can obviously make a better build with like Penance Brand or something, but honestly, you don't really need to. You don't really need to. Like, yeah, you get way more damage, but did you see the footage? This is 16 million Uber DPS, and I was like, I think my average fight time, my average Maven was about 2 minutes and 50 seconds. My average Exarch was about like 50 seconds. If I was able to get him to do like his annihilation attack instead of doing the big ball phase, it was like a 20-second fight. My average Cyrus was about 2 minutes and 50 seconds. So they're still really fast fights, and the majority of that time is just waiting for them to finish dialoguing at you. You can't do anything about it. It's just immunity phases on the boss. So this is more than enough damage if you want to start doing like Uber fights and stuff. And you don't have to invest a ton into this character. Again, all right, one last thing I'm going to leave you with here is looking for cluster jewels. You can save a lot of passive points by getting the 2 relevant nodes, which are Martial Prowess and Feed the Fury. I also recommend one cluster with Feel the Fight here for the Mana Leech, because otherwise you'd have to grab a point here for Mana Leech. I would recommend that you just roll one of them with Feel the Fight. I did this on my triple cluster with my Strike Leader just for the extra attack range and stuff. You don't need that though. So the way to get these jewels and to guarantee that these passive points are in the correct place. So here's a filter that I'll use. You can do this yourself. Just copy this right here. So you're looking for Feed the Fury, Martial Prowess, 10% increased attack damage. This is the base type on the jewel. And then you want number of notable passive skills 3. So what this is going to do is going to show us every single jewel that has at least Feed the Fury and Martial Prowess with an additional passive skill. Obviously, we're going to sort by 8 passive skills here just to save the max. So right here, this jewel will not work. And how I know this is that the listing of the passives, not here where it says 1 added passive, but here, the actual description of the passive on the trade site, these are always added in this order clockwise from the entry point. So you slap these into Path of Building. Just if you did not know, you can right here, it just says copy item. Just click that button right there, copies it, and then go into Path of Building. And then you just Control V right here. Boom, I'll add it into your build. So I'm going to put this here. So remember, this says Vicious Skewering, Martial Prowess, Feed the Fury. So the first node clockwise from the entry point. Here's the entry point clockwise. Boom, Vicious Skewering. Boom, there it is, Vicious Skewering. So this is not going to work. Vicious Skewering is not a good node for this build. You don't want that. You want Martial Prowess and Feed the Fury to be the first 2 nodes right here. Otherwise, you have to waste a passive point to get to it, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down, keep scrolling, keep scrolling, keep scrolling until we see either Martial Prowess or Feed the Fury first. Here we go. Here's the cheapest one, 4 Divines. They do get a little expensive, admittedly, but you can also craft these yourself. They're not terribly hard to roll because these are both speed. Feed the Fury, Martial Prowess. You can just reforge speed and harvest and get a very high chance to get those. So you're looking for Martial Prowess first and Feed the Fury last. Here it is right here. Martial Prowess, Calamitous, Feed the Fury. Copy that one. Paste it in. Let's put it right here. And sure enough, when you go in, here we go. Martial Prowess is here because, again, that's clockwise. And then you look at the next one. The next one clockwise is Calamitous. There it is. And then the last one is Feed the Fury. So we go in. Boom. We have both of our passive points right away. So that is how you search for these jewels to save a ton of money and a ton of time. These might go up in price after this video. Hopefully not too much. All right, anyway, that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. Again, there is a budget version of this build in Path of Building. Just swap everything over to the cheap version. You can do this here. Skill tab, change this to cheap. Item tab, change the equipped item to cheap. And passive tree, change it to cheap. There you go. There's the budget version. If you have any questions about the build, let me know in the comments below. Hopefully this helped you guys. Hopefully you get some good RNG with your Uber drops. Not me. I'm like 150 divines below what I invested into Uber boss. It's pretty bad. Be on the lookout for more Path of Exile content here from yours truly. You can check out my stream at twitch.tv/WoolieGaming. Hope to see you there. Bye-bye.